Hi everybody, welcome to this Java tutorial. Today we're going to be coding a silly little game called Dash. In the game, a player takes a step takes steps towards a distance of 100. Each time the player takes a step, the distance is updated and the step is counted. When the player reaches 100 or more, the game ends. The number of steps taken is then evaluated. Okay? Now let's see if we can break this description down into an algorithm, a series of steps to the solution. So I know I need a variable which will count the number of steps it takes to reach 100, and I'm going to initialize that to 0 at the beginning of the game. I also need to track the distance covered. Each time we take a step, the distance is updated. At the beginning of the program, the distance is set to 0. I also need to process an individual step. Now, I know that I want to take many steps in order to get to 100. Now, I could use a for loop, but how many times am I going to loop if I use a for loop? I don't know how many steps it will take to reach 100. So I don't know how many times the loop will iterate. So a for loop is not very appropriate for this scenario. It might be better to use what's known as a while loop. And a while loop behaves like this. While a condition is true, we will run some code. As simple as that. The question is, what is the condition that we are evaluating in this scenario? Well, what we're saying is, while the distance covered is less than 100, we're going to take steps. So we start at 0 and we just start stepping. Step, 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 step. And while the distance is less than 100, we keep doing it. Okay, so let's take a step. I'm going to use my step variable here, and let's use a random number generator. Let's say each step is a random number in the range 0 to 9, plus 1 becomes 1 to 10. So there's a random number generator from 1 to 10. Each time we take a step, we need to update the distance. So we're adding the step to the current distance to update the distance. And we also need to count the steps. Okay. So now we're trapped in a loop until this becomes false. So if distance becomes 100, 100 is less than 100, no, that's false, so we leave the loop. If the distance becomes 102, 102 is less than 100, no, that's false, we leave the loop. Okay, so here in my program, I'm out of the loop. Then I want to evaluate the number of steps taken. So at the moment, let's just do a system.out.print. The number of steps taken was count steps. So let's run this program and see what output we get in the console. Whoa, nothing. What's going on? Oh, silly me. I forgot to call the function in my main driver function. So let's do that. And let's run it again. Ooh, the number of steps taken was 21. The number of steps taken was 20. 22. 12! Oh my goodness. That was a sprint. 14. Okay, so let's use these ideas to create a winning scenario. Okay. If count steps is less than 20, system.out.println, you win. Else, you lose. Okay, so we're just evaluating the final value of count steps once the while loop has finished its magic. Okay, so let's just run that. Boom. Okay. And there is a brief introduction to while loops in Java.